Yeah, so 911 is for emergencies only, right? We're not going to penalize you. We're not going to, come arrest you for abuse of 911 if you call 911 to report that, there's an alligator in a creek
Yes.
off Harvey Mitchell, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to respond, and then if we decide as the officers to have that conversation, cool. We're probably not.
Right.
But, also with the kids need to know what's an emergency versus what's not an emergency.
Right.
911 is for emergencies only.
What's up, College Station? I'm Grace Hollowell, and today I'm joined once again by Officer David Simmons of the College Station Police Department. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes, it is summertime and large events are in full swing. We're getting ready for some city events coming up as well, the I Heart America celebration, and this is a busy time for you. So we're going to share some summer safety tips, and by now, our viewers or listeners of the show know who you are and what you do. But to give us a little refresher, give us a little history of Officer David Simmons.
Yeah, so my name's David Simmons. I have been with the College Station Police Department for the last 9 years. In fact, last week was my anniversary for that. So
Awesome.
Pretty special. I've grown up here my entire life. I'm from Bryan, but obviously we are connected,
Yes.
right? So spent a lot of time in College Station with College Station events and everything like that. So been married for 12 years, have 2 kids. We decided to introduce a puppy into the mix. So
Awesome.
now I've got a chocolate lab, and he's been the bane of my existence. But I serve as the public information officer for the department now. So that just it's a rewarding position within the department. Not necessarily the most glamorous, but I truly enjoy it because, like I said, I'm from this area, and so I kind of had that philosophy of who better to tell the community what's going on than somebody that's from the community.
Yes, absolutely. And for those who may be unfamiliar, what does a public information officer do? What are your core duties?
Yeah, so core duties, I think, first and foremost is social media. So I'm the one, behind the keyboard or
Yes.
behind the phone screen. I'm constantly taking pictures, creating posts that, 3 of the things that I like to hit are recruiting, retention, and transparency. Transparency is probably my favorite one. Mm-hmm. It's because in this day and age, we need to be transparent with our community. But I also handle all of the media requests that come in, whether that be for just basic information that I can give to them over the phone or through an email, or it's setting up interviews. And then I also respond to any and all of our critical incidents that occur within our city that are going to draw a large police response.
Yes, and that can happen at any time of day or night. So you have your phone on you and are ready like Batman whenever the call comes in to answer the call and put that information out there for our residents to help keep them safe. What is one thing you wish that more people knew about the area of the College Station Police Department or just public information in general?
Well, I think for College Station PD, in a day and age like we have now, post 2020, there's kind of a disconnect between the public and the police departments. I can pretty much say, and I have full confidence in this, that we are not that stigma, that we are well connected within our community. Even with communities that don't necessarily have too much trust with the police, we're still there. We still show up every single time that anybody calls. So we work very diligently with our businesses, with community members, mm-hmm. with organizations like the City of College Station, right? Mm-hmm. To make sure we have events that we can bring, families in that may not have much interaction with the police, or they're potentially going to have an interaction with the police, and they can feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that we're the ones that are going to respond.
Yes, and like you mentioned, you grew up here, mm-hmm. you have a love for this community. back in February, we did a series of interviews for our Black History Month and talked to former Officer Brad Smith, who was also grew up
Yes.
here and went on to serve for the College Station Police Department. And he talked about the very same thing, is building those relationships and making that connection. So if in any instance somebody needs the police's help, they have that relationship and are not afraid to call and
Absolutely.
ask for help.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite thing about your job? I feel like your days are probably different, and you go in with a certain plan, and then by 9 a.m. that plan changes.
Yeah. I mean, I love being a police officer. I'm not going to lie. I miss being out on the streets.
Yeah.
Right. But I've been doing this in this specific role for the last almost 4 years. You know, and it's rewarding, you know. I think it's one of those positions that, you know, it could be overlooked, right? But the amount of training that I've had, what I've been able to accomplish, I think is probably going to take me a lot further than like with a resume once I'm hit my 20 and I retire, than just putting on a resume that I was a patrol cop for, you know, 20 years. You know, I've been able to stand up and speak for certain instances, certain victims, you know, trying to help solve our cases, right? And give them a voice and let our community know we need their help. And it's paid off, right? The relationships that I built with our media partners, strengthening that, because it can be a rocky road sometimes, you know. But at any point, you know, this uniform is my favorite thing. There's a lot of honor that I get to have when I put this on and have this on my chest and have my name attached to this. So, yeah, it's just a big honor. I just love it.
And how is the summer different from the rest of the year for a community like College Station?
Well, I mean, obviously it's hot, right? But for College Station specifically, we see our student population end up leaving. Thank you. We need a break, right? But we see them leave, but the calls don't stop. We're still responding to anything and everything, right? Crashes may decrease a little bit. We still have our crashes, you know. We'll see a little bit more suspicious activity. Unfortunately, there are teenagers out there that are
bored, out of school.
Bored, out of school, surrounded by bad influences and everything like that. So, you know, it's still, it doesn't matter if it's the spring, summer, winter, fall. We're still going to have activity, and we're still going to be responding accordingly.
And what are some of the most common safety concerns that you see during the summertime?
I mean, we can talk about, and I might be hitting on the fire department side a little bit, but, you know, hydration stuff.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to have events like we just had, what was it? The soccer match. I don't know if that was FIFA. I didn't work it. If it was related to FIFA or what, but, you know, people don't drink enough water.
Right.
You know, going to our pools and everything like that. Maybe kids don't know how to swim correctly. Parents aren't utilizing the life jackets that the city pools provide for them, right? We just did a video segment last week where we really highlighted some pool safety tips, because we know summertime, it's hot. Right. Everybody wants to go to the pool, whether it be city pool or whether it be somebody's home pool. There's still, you know, safety concerns when it comes to that, or going to the park or driving. We're going to touch on that through this interview. So,
yeah. And what simple steps can residents take to protect themselves and their families this summer?
See something, say something.
Yeah.
Right. Report suspicious activity. You know, we'll touch. I think we're going to be touching on home stuff, like home safety and vehicle safety and everything like that. So, keeping a keen eye on everything that's going on around you is a big deal too.
Yes, and something that our neighborhood services department, Caitlin, loves to talk about is just being a good neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you notice that your neighbors are going out of town, or if you're going out of town, let one of your trusted neighbors know to keep an eye on your home or your vehicle. Or if you notice something that doesn't seem right in your neighborhood, definitely speak up and say something.
Right.
You're not going to get penalized if it was nothing, but you'd rather be safe than sorry.
Right. And I mean, that's a good point, because we've had numerous investigations, right, where we've seen an influx of people going to like the Nextdoor app or online forums to report suspicious activity. Well, those things aren't monitored by the police department.
Right.
So if you want to say that you go to this online forum and say you heard, let's just say, gunshots, right? You heard gunshots in a specific area or surrounding area. Well, how are we supposed to know about that? How are we going to be able to effectively investigate any further if somebody doesn't pick up the phone and call 911?
Right.
Right? Our 911 dispatchers are there to answer that call, and then in turn, our patrol officers are going to be in their cars. They're going to be in specific areas spread out throughout the city, and they're going to respond accordingly to that. And hopefully it's nothing.
Right.
Right? Or if, package thieves,
Yeah.
we get people are bored at home. It's the summertime. That Amazon spending. I know my wife does it all the time. I don't have access to Amazon. She won't give it to me because I'll buy everything.
Right.
But we're getting a lot of package thefts.
Right.
And if nobody's reporting suspicious vehicles driving around in the area, well, then we've dropped the ball, but we're going to be, multiple steps behind who
Right.
our suspect is.
Right. And we have more eyes as residents than we do police officers on our force. There's a limited
Absolutely.
number of y'all, and there are multiple sets of eyes in our
Correct.
neighborhoods.
Correct.
So many residents travel during the summertime. What are your top tips for keeping a home secure while you're away?
Yeah. I think it goes back to vehicles too.
Yeah.
Lock your homes.
Yes.
Make sure you have the keys. Make sure you double check it. If you've got the push button automatic locks on your doors, make sure the batteries are charged, so that way when you push that button, it's locked. Make sure your garage door comes down, back patio, windows,
Yeah.
everything like that. We also highly encourage everybody to have a security camera.
Yes.
Whether it just be a Ring doorbell camera, or if you want to go all out and do all points of your house, right? And we have been able to solve a lot of cases off of that alone, where
Right.
we're able to pinpoint where who these suspects are, what they were wearing, and track them that way.
Yes, and speaking of Amazon, we love Amazon. It's kind of hard to avoid at this
Correct.
point, but I have an Amazon Blink security system that comes with the doorbell camera, and then we have additional cameras in every door on our exterior of our house, as well as some inside to truthfully spy on our cats. But also, it helps when we are away, or, you're in a rush and you forget to lock your door. Having that backup peace of mind is something that is very helpful.
And I think you touched on it earlier too, with being a good neighbor.
Yes.
Make your relationships with your neighbors.
Yes.
Right. Your neighbors are the ones that are, especially knowing that you're going out of town, are going to keep a better eye on your house and on any other vehicles that might be sitting in the driveway. That's crucial when traveling.
Yes. And I know even this goes beyond leaving, but if you're having a barbecue or a party, let your neighbors know and say, hey, if we're being too loud, let us know. We'll keep it down.
Right.
Come over, grab a plate, or hey, we might have some extra cars parked. If we're, in the way, let us know. Because I think we can all agree having a call from a neighbor is better than the police showing up at our party.
It is. Unfortunately, some are not able to create those relationships with their
Right.
neighbors. Some neighbors might be a little bit more unpleasant,
Right.
right? And they're going to call us, but we're just going to come out and we're going to do our jobs, right? If you're going to have a barbecue, just turn the music down a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Make sure all your guests know how to properly park in the street.
Yes.
Don't block sidewalks. Don't block people's driveways. If it's during the day, try not to block a mailbox so the post office guy doesn't say, you know what, they're not getting their mail today. Right. So.
Or speaking of fire hydrants.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
We will write you a ticket. The fire marshals will write you a ticket, or It could be worse if there was an actual structure fire going on.
Right, because they will not come and find you to have you move your car. They will go right through your car.
Correct.
And you are paying for
Correct.
that bill.
Or we're going to tow it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some common mistakes that can signal to criminals that a house is unoccupied for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I mean, leaving windows open. And by open, I mean like the shades, the blinds, things like that. Criminals will drive through neighborhoods, whether that be day or night. Nighttime is usually better. If they don't see vehicles in the driveway and blinds are open, they might get out on foot. They're going to drop somebody off and they're going to have a getaway driver. And they're going to just walk around and they're going to peek inside. And if they don't see anything that shows anybody's there, they're going to go check door handles. And it's a crime of opportunity.
Right.
When you don't leave your door locked. So if they can get in and move around, they're going to steal your belongings.
Yes, we've all seen Home Alone and the wet bandits.
Yes.
That happens in real life too.
Yeah. I would say another thing is, again, touching on the Amazon stuff is, there's going to be all these deals, online deals or at the stores and stuff like that to buy a new TV, new PlayStation,
Right.
whatever, right? And it's good to get those things, but wait till trash bulk day. Research that on the city website, whether that be waiting till the night before or the day of when bulk trash is coming, because that type of stuff is going to now be inside your home. And yes, I want a PS5, but I'm not going into somebody's home to get it.
Right.
There's going to be others that will want those belongings because they can make an easy buck off of it.
Right, and they can see the boxes if you keep it out there. So yes, that is another good tip. And how can social media posts unintentionally put someone's home at risk while they're on vacation?
Yeah, this one's kind of different. I would say that's probably going to entail close friends
Right.
or acquaintances that are, if you're going to just be flashing the newest piece of jewelry you got or whatever item you just purchased or something like that, they might know where you live, right? And we've seen it before where these suspects are not random. These are targeted
Right.
because, they know what you have, right? I remember working on patrol and a guy had an entire collection of Jordans shoes.
Wow.
And when I say a collection, he had a binder that had a spreadsheet of every single Jordan
my
that he
gosh.
had. And I had to go in through the report because they were all stolen and they were all very valuable.
Yeah.
And I think it ended up being somebody that he knew that actually forced entry into his home, kicked in the door when he was not there and took all of them.
Wow.
Ransacked the house or the apartment, one of the two. So that's why we go back to having a security system on your home.
Right.
With door sensors, with cameras, with everything. And again, don't post that stuff,
Right.
on social media. Like, social media is there to kind of, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing type of thing. But there are safety concerns when it comes down to how much you post and what you're posting.
Yes, absolutely. And make sure you know the people you're accepting friend requests from.
Yes.
I have younger cousins and nieces and nephews, and I always say, if you don't know this person, do not accept them.
Correct.
Keep all of your stuff private.
Correct.
It's not worth the risk.
Well, and unfortunately, social media is like a driving force within our younger generation.
Right.
Now. That's how they feel accepted.
Right. That's how they communicate.
Correct.
Yes, absolutely. So what are some of the most common items that are reported stolen from vehicles?
Yeah, so I think the main thing is going to be identifying information, credit cards, debit cards. We would suggest, with your identifying information, obviously, yes, you need to have your driver's license.
Right.
Right? You do not need to be carrying around your social security card.
Right.
Right? That's go get a safe from Walmart or wherever, some sort of fireproof safe system. Put it in your closet, lock that stuff up. But like I said, credit cards, debit cards, for the ladies that like to carry their fancy purses and everything like that, from Versace to whatever, I don't know. Just guessing at this point, right? I don't know fancy stuff. leaving those inside your car, that's an
Even
easy.
if it's a knockoff.
Even if it's a knockoff, right? They see a purse, they know that there are items in there. Okay, used to the day and age of like busting windows and taking a CD player and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's kind of those days are over. They're looking for those specific items, right?
Right.
Firearms.
Yes.
We talk about it, I think, too much, and I will say it is frustrating that we explain over and over and over and over again to our community whenever we have to take just another theft of a firearm, because we know that firearm is now in the hands of somebody who potentially is going to use it for the wrong thing,
Right.
right? We're not saying you can't own a firearm, but you need to store it safely.
Right.
There are certain safes that you can have inside your vehicle that can be bolted down that, right? We are going to suggest not even keeping it in your vehicle,
Right.
right? So purses, identifying information, guns, and then, when the family's going out to the mall, right? They're going shopping. They're
Right.
leaving that stuff out in the open. There are people that walk in between cars and they're peeking in. They're looking. Even at our parks got hit. Central Park got hit. Was that back in April?
I believe
of last year?
A few months, yeah.
Right, and it was a big deal, and I had to do an interview on it because this wasn't typical. This was smash and grab,
Right.
where they smashed the window in. And we don't usually see too many of those cases. We're looking at unlocked vehicles.
Right.
The other thing, don't leave your keys in your car.
Right.
It's great that we have this technology where you can lock and start your car from an app on your phone, or you got like the Fords
Yeah.
that have the keypad on the side.
Right.
I tell my brother-in-law, and I'll put him on blast right now. I do it every time. Don't leave your keys in the truck.
No.
Don't leave your keys in your car, because that's even worse. If you got a firearm in there, plus identifying information, plus your keys, they're going to take that car,
Right.
and then they are going to go crazy.
Right.
And that vehicle could crash into property or into a person. And then we're having to call you like, why is your truck missing? All these different things. So just please don't leave that stuff in your car.
Yes.
So
Make a
we
mental note before you walk in your house.
Right.
Phone, wallet, keys, lock the door.
Yep. So we will push the lock, take, hide.
Yes.
Lock your vehicle, take out your belongings, or hide your belongings.
Right. What should someone do if they discover their vehicle has been broken into and something has been taken?
So I would not suggest rummaging through the car.
Right.
Back off, call us, so that way we can get there. Depending on the potential of weather, like humidity or anything like that. If there's any kind of condensation, we're really not going to be able to pull fingerprints, but we're going to try, right?
Right.
We've been able to link suspects back to certain cases because of those fingerprints, because an officer was actually able to pull fingerprints off. And it's very rare that we're able to do that because, we don't do it often, but when we do, it's a huge win. Our crime scene technicians, they do a lot.
Yes.
They're already overtaxed enough with what they do, and we can't call them out to every single burglary of a vehicle call. It'd be just letting us come and investigate and check, because if there's one car that's been broken into, there's probably multiple. Now
Right.
we need to start canvassing the area. Again, going back to why it's important to have security cameras that capture motion, so
Right.
that way we can track movements and everything like that. And they get on a city street, we might be able to have cameras that are going to capture a vehicle, a license plate, and we can track those movements and get a clear picture of a license plate. So we
Right.
can go our detectives can go have some conversations and maybe recover that property.
Yes, absolutely. And with the summertime, while it is hot, more people are outside in our parks, our trails. What personal safety tips do you recommend for people who are going to be out and about this summer?
Yeah, the main thing is just be aware of your surroundings. It's great that we have these noise canceling headphones.
Right.
Let's keep the noise on, right? Maybe just have one in.
Right.
Because you never know what's happening in and around the area. but know where you're going,
Yes.
right? Lick Creek Park is probably a good place to go right around nature trails or if you're on a bike or something like that. But really understanding where you're going. I think all of our parks are great,
Yes.
right? And you should visit every single one of them, especially the summertime when we've got like Adamson Lagoon and we got Bachman Park and everything. So, yeah.
Yes, in our parks, they have a wonderful mapping system that shows you all of the amenities at each parks, and there's trail maps and everything that can be found on our website.
Right.
And that again goes back to knowing where you're going before you leave.
Mm-hmm.
And what should parents talk to their children about before heading out to the parks or pools or other outdoor events?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the parks, right? Parents need to have that conversation with them about not running off,
Right.
right? Again, being aware of their surroundings. Stranger danger,
Yeah.
right? We have a safe community, but without trying to scare parents, right? There are certain people that are not there for the right reasons,
Right.
right? So,
And that can happen anywhere, not just here.
100%, 100%. So we, again, going back to see something, say something, right? If parents get off your phone, pay attention to your kids, especially at the pools, especially at the parks.
Yes.
It's one of those that if you see something, then you're going to be able to call us. But we do see a lot of kids that will end up being maybe not the strictest parents, right? Parents can be conversating with other parents or whatever, and their kid runs off. Well, then we get called,
Right.
right? And so now we have to figure out, okay, where was this kid last seen? And they just ran off into the back of the woods, and then they come back, right? So keeping an eye on those kids need to stay, and the kid needs to understand they need to stay where they're
Yes.
supposed to stay.
Healthy boundaries.
Yes, healthy boundaries.
With kids and teens now out of school, and running around together, enjoying their summer break, what are some things that our older kids need to know, especially in the summertime, who may be spending more time with friends during their summer break?
Yeah, I mean, we want the kids to have fun.
Yes.
Those teenage years, we were all teenagers at one point. I know I was, right? And even though I wanted to push some boundaries, there were certain things that I was not going to allow myself to do, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, yes, there are drugs in our city, and we are working diligently to try to get them away. And we want the kids not to do drugs. We don't want them drinking. We don't want them drinking and driving or high and driving.
Yeah.
The vape pens, don't
Yes,
even
very
touch
dangerous.
those kids. Like that's a big thing. We're seeing them a lot in the schools. I think we're even this morning, right? We had a call at a park of some kids, teenagers, that were potentially doing drugs, and those kids decided to run from the officers, and so we're trying to go catch them. We know who they are, because we've dealt with them
Before.
several times, so it's kind of the name of the game in our line of work. So they're going to be dealt with accordingly by law, right? But we want the teenagers to understand that it is good to have fun.
Right.
But again, healthy boundaries,
Yes.
right? You need to let your parents know where you're going. You don't need to just go to your friend's house and not let your parents know that you're not coming home.
Right.
You need to call them. I know I've gotten in trouble for that whenever I was a teenager.
Yeah.
My parents gave me clear expectations, and I went above that, and I got punished,
Right.
and it wasn't fun, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yes, I was a nanny for several years and had a little girl, put her in timeout in her room, came back to check on her.
Yeah.
She had bolted out the window and found her down the street at the neighbor's house
Oh
playing with
my
her
gosh.
friend. So that was a conversation about those healthy boundaries
Yeah.
and why it is so important to always let your parents know where you're going. And again, it comes back to if your friends are doing something that may or may not be a good decision, speak up. And if
Right.
you don't necessarily have to tell a police officer in every case, tell a parent, tell a trusted adult, there's no harm in reporting something that you think is unsafe.
Correct.
So, how can residents become more active partners in keeping their neighborhoods safe?
Yeah. I think it starts with the neighborhood itself. We're blessed with some neighborhoods that have HOAs and they have certain guidelines and rules, but I would say a vast majority of the neighborhoods already are attached to some sort of online forum, whether that be the neighbor app or Nextdoor or something.
Mine
some
has a
platform.
Facebook group.
Right. Facebook groups, and they're kind of reporting certain things, or whether there's going to be a garage sale or whatever the case may be. So starting there, but then also like being able to have that keen awareness to report that suspicious activity, because I think it goes hand in hand. We'd rather you report something to us and it be nothing,
Right.
than not report it and it turn into something.
Exactly. And for those who may not know the difference, when should someone call 911 versus the non-emergency line?
Yeah, so 911 is for emergencies only, right? We're not going to penalize you. We're not going to, come arrest you for abuse of 911 if you call 911 to report that, there's an alligator in in a creek
Yes.
off Harvey Mitchell, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to respond, and then if we decide as the officers to have that conversation, cool. We're probably not.
Right.
But, also with the kids need to know what's an emergency versus what's not an emergency.
Right.
911 is for emergencies only. Okay. So non-emergencies, so that could be anything from, you can report suspicious activity to the non-emergency line. You can report, online scams or minor crashes or anything like that. Most of the time people are going to call 911 because being in a crash is already traumatic.
Right.
So it's just a scary situation. So.
Yes. And how can residents stay informed about safety alerts or community updates from the police department?
Yeah, so luckily we have our Facebook and Instagram. So that's
Yes.
at CSTX Police. So I am constantly trying to put up some sort of PSA, safety tip, or just updating road closures.
Yes.
Whether that be from construction or that's going to be from all the crazy crashes that we have. And it seems like we are just constantly having crash after crash after crash on Highway 6 because
Yes.
of all the construction. So that's the best way, because once that happens, then down the road, KBTX is going to share all of our information. It's going to be, it's accurate information that's coming from the police department itself.
Right, absolutely. And then if people are looking for more information about the police department outside of social media, where can they go to find more?
Yeah, so go to our website, College.policedepartment.com. No, that's not right.
CSTX.gov/police.
There you go, that one. Yeah, do that one. So go to that website. That's going to have information on all kinds of different things, whether that be for different divisions, how to set up special event, how to organize for a special event permit. Our community enhancement unit, it has a calendar where we host all of our events. I don't know if we're having one over the summer, but I think last year we did like popsicles with a cop over at Central Park. So that was pretty fun. So. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we go, we have a fun game of lightning round questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, summer music festival or sporting event?
Music festival.
Okay. One thing every parent should teach their children about safety.
Oh gosh, this isn't lightning. Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. Good one. Most important safety tip in 5 words or less.
Lock, take, hide.
Lock, take, hide. One safety item every driver should keep in their vehicle.
First aid kit.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
And finally, your favorite part about serving the College Station community.
Everything.
Everything.
Just everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And that's what's up.